Comme tous les ans, la division sport d'EA se pointe avec un nouveau FIFA et son lot d'innovations allant toujours plus loin dans le réalisme et l'authenticité. Prévu pour le 28 septembre prochain, FIFA 13 nous a donc été présenté par son gameplay producer, Aaron McHardy, lors d'un showcase EA à Londres qui s'est déroulé il y a quelques mois. L'occasion pour nous d'en savoir un peu plus sur les améliorations apportées à ce nouveau volet.
One of those is the player impact engine and some of the fixes that we've done in that engine to improve it for this year. So we focused on two things really in the player impact engine. We've focused on polishing up the last remaining issues that we had with our collisions last year in stumbles and falls situations. So situations like unrealistic movement of the arms where they get caught out of position, and situations like catapults and stuff like that. This year we've gone back to the base level of our model to make the strengths of the players a little bit more humanistic so we get more realistic reactions all over the pitch. The second part of that is we tried to add little features in and around the player impact engine to make it more than just collisions and stumbles and falls. And what that means is we've added features and effects to push and pull, which is a feature we had last year. We've added the ability for strong defenders to really use that ability to push and pull to greater effect this year. And of course, walk the line a little bit. Last year, our referee maybe didn't understand that situation and couldn't call those fouls accordingly. This year, he has a better understanding of those situations, which has allowed us to really expand on those mechanics and really bring physicality a little bit more to the table, allowing more tools for defenders to use in trying to dispossess the opposition. Something we like to call using the body, where players can step in front and seal off a player before he goes back to the ball.
On trouve donc dans FIFA 13 pas mal d'améliorations de système inclus dans le précédent titre, mais aussi de toutes nouvelles features, comme le First Touch Control, la gestion de la première touche lorsqu'un joueur reçoit la balle. Un point effectivement important dans la mesure où un contrôle parfaitement exécuté peut être déterminant en phase d'attaque.
So first touch control was a big feature for us we put in this year, and I think it's analogous to what we did last year in tactical defending. We asked you last year in tactical defending to think differently about how you defended the game, and what that did was created a more engaging experience on the defensive side of the ball, but also created up a whole lot more opportunity on the attacking side of the ball, in that there was a lot more space available on the pitch. Now, one of the things that we struggled with a little bit last year was the opportunities that you got to win back possession, which is one of the areas we wanted to focus on this year, which is one of the main reasons we brought in this feature, first touch control. What it was last year is every time a pass was played into you, whether it was a very difficult pass over the shoulder, 40-yard ball while there's pressure at your back, or a very easy pass that was slow and you had time and space to take it, you always had a perfect touch. Similar to the greatest players in the world, doesn't matter what player you were in the database, your touch was almost absolutely perfect. So what we've done this year is taken all of the learnings that we've had in our kicking error system over the last 5 years and applied them to trapping. So we're studying the context of the situation. Is the ball coming in fast? Is the ball bouncing? Is it raining? Is the player that's controlling the ball skilled, or is he less skilled in controlling the ball? Is there pressure at your back? Is somebody pushing you? Is somebody pulling you? All of these things will factor into every touch you take when you're receiving the ball this year to create more realistic outcomes in some of the more difficult situations that happen on the pitch. So now if I go back to that analogy that we had with tactical defending, we're asking you to think differently in attacking this year about how you construct your attacks going forward and how you're going to break down the opposition. We're asking you to think about, am I putting this player into a difficult position where they're likely to take a bad touch and maybe cough up possession? Maybe if that player is really good, if you have Lionel Messi, you can play that ball because you know he can handle it. But maybe if he's not and he's under pressure, maybe you decide to do something else and think a little bit more strategically about how you're going to construct that attack.
Parmi les améliorations apportées, il en existe quelques-unes qui ont été suggérées par la communauté ou les différents feedbacks que l'équipe d'IA a reçus, nombre d'entre eux tournant principalement autour de l'IA en attaque.
The number one piece of feedback that we got from our fans the most often was they didn't feel that they liked the way that the AI behaved. Now that's a very broad comment because AI can mean a number of things in a video game. But what I think that they were trying to get to is we made a lot of changes to tactical defending in FIFA 12, which opened up a lot of area on the pitch. And now when you tried to exploit that space that was now available on the pitch, sometimes people felt that the attacking options that you had in those scenarios were maybe not as plentiful as they would like. So we've taken that information and we've really invested heavily in our attacking intelligence this year. We've re-architected a way that our positioning system works so that the players on the pitch have a better understanding of how they can analyze space and decide to go on runs. We've also given them a whole bunch of new behaviors and new run types that they can use. They can curve to try and stay onside, they can curve around defenders to get to important space behind, and they can do things like choosing runs that are a lot more decisive than maybe some of the runs that they made last year, where they were changing directions often and not really making a concerted effort to get into good space. On top of that, we've also given them the ability to think 2 plays ahead like the real world superstars do. So they're now anticipating what the next most likely play is going to happen and adjusting their position according to that, not just on where the person who has the ball is currently. And that's an advancement, a new way of thinking that we put into the game that is something that you see outside in the world's greats, the guys like Lionel Messi, what you see in Barcelona, these guys anticipating the play, getting into space early so that we can create more interesting attacks and the flow of the game improves. So we've really doubled down our efforts in what we're doing in attacking intelligence to try and bring this new behavior to our consumers to satisfy their craving for new intelligence in FIFA.
Faisant preuve d'un réalisme plutôt hallucinant, aussi bien visuellement que dans la physique, les tactiques et les comportements des joueurs, ce FIFA 13 semble se rapprocher sévèrement d'une simulation de foot irréprochable. On trouve ici une volonté de retranscrire le plus fidèlement possible tous les aspects du football. Mais alors, on peut se demander si cette course au réalisme ne risque pas de minimiser l'aspect fun qu'un jeu vidéo doit proposer.
It's a very good question. I think every year our directive is to get more authentic and more real. But our goal is always to make the most fun experience that we can, because we're making a video game. The luxury that we have is we get to model a sport that is already inherently fun. So the more details we end up bringing in, so long as we don't do them in a complicated way that's difficult to understand, the more details that we can bring in, the richer and more engaging the experience is when you play the video game. So it actually equates to fun. Getting those details right, so what you expect to happen on the screen actually happens, is inherently good. We talk about capturing the unpredictability of real-world football in FIFA 13, and that's really been our goal this year. And when you think about just the feature I've talked about, the first touch control, when a ball's coming in over the top and you have pressure at your back and you're a poor defender, you don't expect that player to be able to take that ball down perfectly. So the fact that we're getting the details in there to do that correctly doesn't take away from the fact of what you're expecting on the pitch and how you perceive fun. It actually only adds to the experience because it makes you think more about football and less about a video game. So inherently what we're doing is we're removing the step where you actually feel like you're playing a simulation and moving closer to the point where you actually feel like you're playing professional football. And that's the approach that we try and take year in and year out, which I think, as I said at the beginning, we're lucky in that we can go out there and try and capture the unpredictability of real football, and that actually presents itself in the way that we do it as fun for the game.
On rappelle enfin que le 13e volet de FIFA sortira le 28 septembre prochain sur à peu près toutes les machines du marché, et on vous prépare bien évidemment une critique dans l'énorme en vigueur dans un prochain 100%.